Good morning, Austin. Welcome to the Fans View, KAZI 88.7. Travis Kent sitting across from me, Douglas Washington. Douglas pulling double duty on the board as well. Appreciate you, Douglas, for handling all the technical duties as well today.
It's a pleasure.
All right, so first of all, happy Friday. Happy Good Friday.
Yeah. And with good weather.
That's right.
Sun's out.
That's right.
It could be a lot worse.
That's right. We're going to see mid-70s today. Can't get much better than that this time of year.
Looking forward to it. And
that's right.
I'm going to make sure I get some fresh air. I've been in the studio for a while, but yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it a little bit.
There you go. It's time to get out, have some fun this weekend. Celebrate as however you do on this beautiful Easter weekend we're gonna have. So, all right. So we got a lot going on in the sports world.
Oh yes, we do. We're down a 1 seed. We're down a 2 seed in March Madness. For instance, there were some pro days.
Yep.
Oh, I got some questions about some pro days. A couple. Let me just tease it with then.
All right.
Hey, Travis, does a 4.4 out of a quarterback change your opinion on that quarterback?
You know, that's a pretty salty number. That's a pretty salty number.
I mean,
there are a lot of decisions going to be made over the next month or so going into the draft that are going to hash themselves out. There's going to be a lot of rumors. There's going to be a lot of talk, a lot of discussion, a lot of arguing about the order of some of these players going.
Yeah.
But we're starting to see some things shake out, get a great idea of at least the position that some of these teams are going to take.
Yes.
Then it will come down to which order are they taken in. I think we all know who's going to go number one.
I can't agree with you.
Okay, all right.
Just this far out. Travis, there's been a lot said about a certain young man that paints his fingernails pink.
Okay.
And
I'm glad you brought this up.
I just don't know if Chicago will embrace, that Bears spirit. Because some think that Caleb Williams, past Heisman Trophy winner, is going to be the number one pick, and I think that's what you're referring to. That Chicago will keep that pick and maybe take him.
That's my reference. Yes.
But can that sell? Can you go from SoCal to Chicago? Two different fan groups.
Different fan groups. So here's why I'm glad you brought this up. Is I don't keep up. I don't know what. I don't know technically what generation I am. I'm not into all of that.
I think you're X.
Okay, I probably am.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know what this youngest generation right now is actually called or whatever.
Yeah.
But they are different.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
They don't tend to care as much about what some elders of us traditional thinkings are around the way you present yourselves, the actions that you look. And by the way, I find it kind of refreshing a little bit because I do think that there's some stodginess as with respect to the way we treat personal choices people make,
yes, sir,
colors they wear,
yes,
just
sir,
things like that, right?
Yes.
But it's deeper than that. It's a different mindset.
Yes, sir.
Of the individuals.
You know, since we're talking Caleb Williams, I want to remind you what you said to me on these airwaves. I may have to go back to tell you what day it was, but you said something to me. I believe you and I did it off air, and I said, Travis, if a guy goes off to the side and his mom's at the game and he goes to his mom's arms and cries on national TV, to your point of everything you just said, in our day, I'm a Gen Xer, in our day, we withheld that because it made us look a certain way.
Right.
That doesn't mean we didn't feel and weren't as hardcore competitors.
Yep.
But what you said is, I'll take a guy that cares over anybody else any day.
Right.
And so if that's the case when it comes to Caleb Williams, for those Chicago Bears fans who are hesitant because he paints his his fingernails pink, do you think that matters if he can spin it, as we say, when he throws that ball?
I certainly don't think it matters. Here's the question that comes up in our eyes and Gen Xers' eyes as we're trying to siphon this out. By the way, Jamal January coming in. Appreciate you, Jamal. Good to see you again.
Good to see y'all too.
Sporting your ACU gear today, I see.
Absolutely. It's Texas
He got in
Relays
there quick.
weekend.
Texas Relays weekend.
He's a sprinter.
I was
I was a little late today.
I was definitely going to bring up the Texas Relays weekend as well.
Oh, I saw some amazing talent. I was standing next to the Grambling University athletes. I had some Cal State Fullerton. I spent some time, lived out in Orange County. Like I just was geeking out, talking to a bunch of them. I feel bad because I wanted to go into sports mode. I wanted to go into, hey, I want you guys to call in. I want you guys to do stuff. I just kind of just talked since they were right there next to me. But yeah, it's an exciting time in the city.
So back to most of the people making final decisions on drafts are somewhere between probably 40 to 80 years old, depending on whether they're general manager, they're the owner of the organization, whatever the case may be. They're somewhere between 40 and 80 for the most part.
Yes.
And what they're trying to figure out is, do pink fingernails just mean they don't care what other people think of them?
Yeah.
Or do pink fingernails indicate that there's some aloofness about them that might go into their work ethic? And I'm not saying it's right, but that's what people of our generation and older are trying to figure out about this younger generation.
I have an event I have to go to tonight. I mentor some young men, and one of the things I always tell the young men, they're a little bit younger than you, Jamal. I always tell them, I got it. I like where y'all are at. I got it. But all I have to just remind you is you're on the come up, as the young kids say. You're building. You're still building your brand. You need something. You need to know your boss. Jamal, if you're my boss, you can gosh darn believe I'm going to know what kind of Nikes those are, what's up with the ripped jeans. I'm going to try to get a label. I'm going to try to understand some things about you so we can have water cooler talk, and I may not have to spend a lot of time explaining. I'll get your references because it's more forced communication there. But we do know right now I don't work for Jamal, and if again stereotypically Jamal works for people that are Gen Xers, then you're going to have to get some references. You probably should know what the original Top Gun was like. Those type of things. Yeah. And so Caleb, man, the people that are at Louis Vuitton, okay, maybe not because Pharrell is there now. He's a Gen Xer. But, some of these people at these organizations, some of these owners, these general managers, they are making these decisions and they are not of your generation.
That's
so
right.
Just get the money, get the contract, and then maybe you could do some stuff later. You could be Dennis Rodman later. You could be Russell Westbrook later.
Right.
But you got to get that contract, and you want to be that number one pick. We got somebody.
Yeah, if we got a caller on the line, let's go ahead and hit the caller. Hit the lines. Hey, caller, you there? Caller, you there? Did we lose you already?
No, I didn't get the dial tone. It still shows that they're connected. Maybe we just have some issues there.
Okay. Right.
Call back, please.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's this is not a new thing. This is like every 10 to 15 years we have these generational changeovers and the mindset of the youth coming out. And look, I'm not trying to paint wide brushes. Every individual is different.
Yeah.
Every individual runs their lives differently and learns differently, etc. But yeah, this is something that's going to be discussed through this current generation because look, as a hiring manager at a company, when I'm assessing out of college kids, young adults, it's incumbent upon me to learn about them as much as I can to fairly evaluate them.
Yeah.
And that is the hardest part is there's no book to tell me. There's no book that tells me how to get there.
No, you could miss something.
That's right.
Some of them don't have. There's a young man who's a junior right now that I have had conversations with, and he doesn't understand the importance of a reference letter, as in the building of the reference letter. how you request that reference letter, and then what you should be getting back, the quality of the product. He's about to hit the world in 1 year. As we stereotypically say, when you graduate, you're officially in. I mean, he may go do some master's work. We know. Right. But when it comes to that, that means we have to do more to help. And some of them don't know. Well, they don't know what they don't know. And you still got to kind of find out.
That's right.
If you're gonna enter the business world, I think you should be saying to yourself, what are some of the things I'm going to need? What am I walking into?
That's right.
And maybe you reach out, you ask, maybe you got a fraternity brother or somebody that graduated 2 or 3 years ahead of you. Why don't you start having some conversations with them? So it's not all on the old heads to help the young people, but the young people, I think definitely, because it's their future.
Yeah, that's right.
And I would not want to leave it all on this hiring manager and the 20 minutes that I'm going to spend with them to talk about my life.
Right.
And I want to make sure I can hit points and that my resume is attractive and I have keywords that I could use to draw their attention to see what they're looking for.
That's right. So let's try the phones again. Hey, caller, you there?
Hello.
Yes, you there?
Yes, sir. I am now.
Yeah, Mr. Oklahoma, how you doing?
Hey, how y'all doing, man? Hey, Mr. January didn't show up, huh?
Oh,
I'm right here.
I was just messing with you, man. I heard on the radio. I know you came in late, you know.
hey, hold on, Tebow T. I mean, hold on now. If some of the best college athletes from around the nation were 15 minutes away, would you want to come into a studio and be next to Travis and Douglas? Or, you know, especially when you're young, he's a good-looking fellow, he's in great shape. I mean, hold on now. What would you do?
Man, I don't know, man. You know, I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I would like to stay anonymous, you know.
That's why we call you Mr.
But what I
Oklahoma.
want to bring up, man, y'all was talking about pink fingernails and all that stuff. Man, what different? I mean, if you could play good sports, good football, good basketball. Look at the Birdman played basketball for the Bulls last year. Yeah. Look at Dennis Rodman. You know, I mean, if you could play good, what difference does it make?
No, you're 100% correct, right? But I think what the point of what our conversation we're trying to get through is, and I look, I don't want to unfairly single someone out, but Kyler Murray, for instance, right? Clearly a phenomenal talent, great college career, comes into the NFL and does very well. Little ups and downs with Kingsbury as the head coach or whatever. Gets time for his next contract, and it became publicized that written into the contract was he had to spend less time playing video games and more time studying. You know, go back to Johnny Manziel. You know, they gave him his tablet to study, and when he would turn it in, it would show 0 minutes of study time.
Yeah.
Right? So you're not necessarily worried about their fingernails. You're trying to figure out if that says anything about their character. And we don't know that yet. I 100% agree that pink fingernails don't mean a thing about whether you are or aren't, unless you get to know, but it might send you down a road of questions to ask to get deeper into the point. Hey, if you went into a young 22-year-old who came into his interviews with pro teams wearing a nice suit and a bow tie, right? That gives you a line of questioning to ask. What about him and his style and his character leads him to the choices he makes on a daily basis? That's where you're headed with all these questions. Yeah. And if sometimes it starts with pink fingernails, sometimes it starts with you're wearing athletic shorts and a t-shirt versus a guy who's wearing a suit and a tie versus a guy. That's kind of where the conversation is leading. So,
Mr. Oklahoma, can I also add, decisions have to be made when it comes to marketing and ticket sales and your locality. when I look at InsiderMonkey.com, when I look at that, and because my search was, what are the most liberal cities in the U.S.? Austin was number 11. Do you think Chicago is going to be listed? They have the number 1 pick as one of the most liberal cities for a guy to come out of Southern California. He's from Washington, D.C., so he's a Durant guy. That means something to all of us. But that's the other part that I'm also trying to insinuate with when I brought that to Travis. Would that matter? Do you can as a general manager, we think, can this play in our market in Chicago?
Yeah, man, but I am tired of Chicago getting the first pick all the time. They are always getting the first pick, and I am so tired of them, man, getting the first pick almost every year.
It is getting a little old. You're right. I agree.
When was the last time they had the number 1 pick?
So Justin Fields was what number? Was he number 3?
I want to say he was 3
Yeah.
or 4.
Yeah.
But they've consistently been a top 5 pick for what seems like the last
I'm
decade.
sick of that, man.
And that's part of it. It's because for instance, as a Cowboys fan, right? Our highest draft pick, I guess you would have to go. CeeDee Lamb fell to us at 12. Was that that's been our highest draft pick? But they've essentially been an 8-8 team, or they've been a mid of the pack, and that just means you're never going to be in the top 5, right? As long as you're close to the playoffs or making the playoffs every year, you're always going to be drafting 16 and above, and you never get that shot at what quote unquote is a generational talent. Now, you hope you get a Micah Parsons, and you hope that you get the steal of the draft. If everybody went back to redraft the Micah Parsons draft today, he might be number 1 off the board. I don't know that for 100% sure. I got to go back and look at some of the others, but he's had as big an impact as anybody, right? So, but I think I agree with Mr. Oklahoma's point is the Clevelands, the Chicagos, Washington. These teams that just seem like they're mired, but by the way, we know it's not just the city, it's not the location, it's the leadership, the ownership group, the general manager. It's the people running the organization that make it a less than adequate organization that's putting them in these positions. So.
Yeah, I wanted to bring something else up, guys. Excuse me for breaking in.
Yep.
But, man, some of these basketball players like Draymond Green, get up off the ref, man. They're doing the best they can. They just have 2 eyes, and the action is going so fast. They can't see every single thing. And the basketball players just look like they want to fight the ref.
Yeah.
And there should be a rule about that, man. They're doing the best they can, man.
So I'm
gonna tell you, I don't like Draymond Green, man. I don't.
No, I
I
get
do
it.
not like Draymond Green. I hate it, man. Because this dude is all, he's just like, when he slapped that guy, over there in practice, something like that.
Yeah.
Man, I'd have filed charges on him. Because he's making big money. He can pay me.
Yeah.
But slapping me like
Jordan
that.
Poole should
he
have.
got to need to be arrested. He needs to be arrested, bro.
Yeah.
Well, here's what I can tell you. Some for those who aren't aware, the other night the Golden State Warriors were playing, and 4 minutes into the game, the second technical was called on Draymond Green. They ultimately the team went on to win the game, but he got kicked out of the game 4 minutes in. And when your superstar Steph Curry, which the majority of you know, is the cameras are on him, and he can't hold back his reaction, and he's looking down at the ground, shaking his head. What you're getting when you're Draymond at this point, if you guys, I bet Jamal won't get this reference, you're getting the Rasheed Wallace treatment when you come up to the ref.
Yeah.
And it's I don't want to hear that. I've coached a lot of teams, and I can tell you there's been times where the refs, before I even can say anything, they see me coming over, and they're already like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And I'm like, what? I didn't even say anything yet.
Right.
But so I know what that feels like, but that is kind of on me, and it's certainly on him with what he's done. So he has no one to blame but himself. Outside of that fan base, there aren't many of us that actually like him. I don't think we like him because of his game, like his statistics. I understand that where he fits as a piece. And
Draymond's an interesting case because, if I don't listen to his podcast on a regular basis, but I hear it's fantastic.
I catch it. Yeah, he does a good job.
He has a commercial that's in heavy rotation during the NCAA basketball tournament, where he's kind of making fun of himself, right? And he talks about choices you make and things like that.
Yes.
There is no doubt in my mind that when Draymond's done playing, he is going to be in one of the seats on one of the networks.
Yes.
ESPN has got a lot of seats they can fire people and put better people in.
Yes, they can.
He would fit well at ESPN.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a voice, because when I do hear him talk, he is knowledgeable about the game. He knows what's going on. He just admits he has a temper on the court that he has trouble controlling. I do not like Draymond Green, the player. I have a feeling that when Draymond retires, I'm going to fall in love with Draymond Green, the announcer.
I think so. I'm in agreement with you.
Me too.
He's personable.
I want to bring this up, man. At the Cowboys, I'm gonna go back to the Cowboys.
Okay.
If Dak have one more year, I think Mike McCarthy needs to go behind it. Especially if we don't get to the Super Bowl this coming season, Mike McCarthy needs to leave, and Dak Prescott, and maybe some other coaches.
Hey, Travis, before you say something, let me say this, because Mr. Oklahoma, I want you to see this reaction. I agree with you, because I know what's going to happen. If Dak doesn't play good this year, they're drafting Shedeur Sanders next year.
Oh.
You think, boy?
I just wanted to see. Wow, he's not even breathing right now, Mr. Oklahoma. His eyes are closed. He leaned back in his seat. He's looking up at the sky, but his eyes are closed. I don't think Travis. I just.
Man, I don't think Shedeur Sanders, man. You know, he throw the ball real good, but I mean, is he ready for the pros?
Well,
Do you think so?
I don't even want to answer. I want Travis to answer. I just wanted to get Travis going.
The only thing I wanted to even say was that McCarthy and Dak are both in the final year of their contracts.
Yeah.
And that speaks volumes about their position. Now, I think the question, from the McCarthy perspective, I don't think it matters that much. I think McCarthy knows that if he wins, he's going to get a nice fat new contract. If he doesn't win, he gets it. He was at the Packers.
Yeah.
He had good seasons at the Packers and got his walking papers.
Yeah, he did.
He knows what's going on. I wonder about Dak. Dak's now 30 years old, and his next contract could be his final contract that he plays under. Hopefully, he'll play 8 more years, 10 more years, 40-year-old quarterback. I hope the best for him, but he does know that his next time he signs his name on a contract, he wants it to be for a team he believes is directed towards a title.
Yeah.
And I think he wants it to be Dallas. And I think he wants to be the reason that it's going to be Dallas. But this year is going to be very telling. So
I can't picture a world where he's not there, to be honest, because in my mind, when I start thinking where would he go, I don't see that fit, but I would have never thought Kirk Cousins would be an ATL.
Yeah.
But if there's anybody that can change, it's Kirk Cousins, and maybe Dakota can do that too. But man, when your name's Dakota, you got to be in Dallas. Like I can't see anywhere else for you to be. It seems like a match made in heaven.
I want to say a little bit about this March Madness, man. I am loving it.
Yeah.
Man, these number 1 seeds, number 2 seeds, they are getting upset. Yeah. And I love it, man. I say, God, because I said last night at 12 o'clock, And I said, man, these top teams are getting knocked right off.
Yep, I hear you.
I think Houston gonna lose too.
You think so? Well,
I think they play tonight. I think they're gonna lose, man.
Well, I mean, the point you make is valid in that I always talk about the heyday of when I grew up watching basketball, right? The old Big East Conference and Georgetown and Villanova and Syracuse. And the heyday, I love that. By the way, Houston was a good program back then as well, obviously with Guy V. Lewis. But it was very rare. Remember the Villanova team that was an 8 seed that ended up beating Georgetown in the Final Four. But 8 seeds making it to the Sweet 16 and into the Final Four was very rare back then. There wasn't as much parity as there is nowadays. Yeah. I mean, we're seeing now that NC State plays tonight. I don't know what the betting line is on that game, but it's probably a 1 or 2 point line.
Yeah.
You're talking about an 11 seed in the tournament, meaning they are considered between the 40th and 44th best team in this tournament. And I'm telling you that they've got a chance to make the Final Four. They've got a really good chance to make the Final Four. That's how much parity there is in college basketball these days.
Yeah, because Arizona got beat last night.
Yep.
North Carolina got beat.
Yep.
I say, wow, man, I'm not going to miss nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Hey, man, y'all have a good, y'all going to Texas relays or what?
Of course.
Yeah, Jamal will be out there. I'm not going to be able to make it out this weekend.
You heard me already. What makes you think I wasn't already there?
That's right.
Yes.
Hey, Mr. J. Webb, you going to run in the Texas relays or what?
I'm going to be there. I'm not going to run. I'm going to be there.
Hey, man, I'm out of town. Y'all have a good Easter, man.
All right, Mr. Oklahoma, we appreciate it as always, and we need to get to a break, so we'll come back after these words, a lot more talk. We are back on the Fans View, KAZI 88.7, Travis Kent alongside Douglas Washington.
Yes.
On the boards. Jamal had to bug back out. He is working with his alma mater this weekend, doing some work with their athletes to put a little production value together for some things they're doing. So
that's valuable knowledge that he could pass on from his years of running to come back and offer at one of the biggest events in their college career.
That's right.
Pretty cool.
That's right. So Jamal's not with us. So it's Douglas and I, and I know we need to talk. We did have opening day in Major League Baseball yesterday. Rangers unveiling their World Series banner and a great game that went into extra innings. With Jonah Heim getting the walk-off hit at the end of the game. But we need to talk March Madness, really, is what we need to get into. Obviously, Sweet 16 started last night. To kind of recap the previous weekend, which I thought was a really good weekend of basketball, and always is. It rarely ever disappoints. A nice mixture of favorites winning and upsets and great storylines. And, Texas, I will admit that I thought Texas was in big trouble against Tennessee. The way Tennessee scores the ball and the way Texas kind of goes through these spells of not being able to put the ball through the hoop. But they really tightened down their defense, did a great job against Tennessee, made it a close basketball game, and had their chances. Exactly. They had their chances down the end, just couldn't quite get it done. I think that's emblematic. I think Tennessee's roster is a little bit better than Texas' roster right now. But Texas, I thought they showed themselves very well in that game.
I mean, they're going up against a 2 seed and lost by 4 points. I'm a positive guy. That's the way I see it. I choose to embrace that part.
Right.
You're a 7 seed. You gave a 2 seed all they could take. You lose by 4. Their defense. You held a number 2 seed that easily can put 100 points up on the board. You held them to 62 points.
Yeah.
I'd be proud of that.
Yeah,
I would. And so, we got some seniors that are going to be leaving there, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
What did we expect? I mean, did we expect this team to make it? I mean, I had them on my bracket, but did we expect them to get to Sweet 16 or Elite 8? Maybe they can call in 512-836-2887 and tell them what your expectations were. I did not expect them to win the national championship, though.
No, I didn't either. I had a little bit high. I will tell you, so the season for me for UT went a lot like this is I expected them to be a little bit better in conference play. I thought they might. I didn't think they'd challenge for the conference title.
Yeah.
But I thought they had a chance of being in the top 4, top 5, top 6 in the conference, and they were just outside of that. They ended up being a 7 seed in the NCAA tournament. You really go back and look, and they tested themselves early. They played UConn early in the season, lost by 8. They played some other top teams throughout the year, and then their top games throughout the conference season. And we saw the holes in their game throughout the year.
Yeah.
The lack of timely shooting, the occasional nonchalantness with the basketball,
Yes.
and the turnovers would get to them. And all those things sort of crept up all throughout the year. I thought Rodney Terry did a really good job this year with a good basketball team.
Yeah.
That he gave them the tools, I thought, to be better. And I think some of the players just didn't quite slot into their potential of where they can be. I think the world of Dylan Mitchell. He is a fantastic athlete.
Mm-hmm. He is.
And I have to believe the coaching staff is working with him to be a better offensive player. But I don't see him progressing as an offensive player. And so, you do have to, at some point, you have to say, is it coaching or is it the player or is it a combination of the both? And so I'm going to say it's probably a combination of the both. But Dylan Mitchell clearly has some work to continue to do to become a better offensive player. But, Dylan DeSue, I thought had a really good year. I thought they used Brock Cunningham very well during the season. Tyrese Murphy, up and down throughout the year, throughout his career. After being Rookie of the Year in the conference with Iowa State a couple of years ago, he's just kind of been up and down. I thought Asmus had a really good season. I thought that handing the keys to Asmus about midway through the year and essentially saying, run the point and get your shots off was a great decision because it was clear that they needed somebody to be the big dog. And he was the guy who was most, I'm not going to say most prepared because I think Dylan DeSue is a big dog, but the guy who sought it out the most. And they rewarded him by saying, here you go, here's the keys to the car. You get to drive.
Are you worried? I was talking about building off of. So, Asmus is he's from Rockwall, Texas. That's right. I was waiting all week to get in here and ask you, where is that, Travis? And do you know about it?
Yeah, Rockwall is the northeastern part of the Dallas Metroplex.
Okay, I knew you'd know.
Yeah. So because I've got a little beef with Rockwall Heath High School.
Oh.
They put my daughter's soccer team out of the playoffs, I think twice.
Gotta be kidding.
In her career. So yeah, Rockwall Heath is not one of our favorite schools.
Okay, then I'll leave him alone. I was just curious when I saw that. I thought you said so. DeSue again. You mentioned him, senior. He's out. Asmus led in everything this year. For those who don't know, he led in points per game, he led in assists per game, and he led in field goal percentage. 42.5 for the field goal percentage, but so we're losing two big leaders. I'm just wondering, where do we go next and what we bring in? What I want to offer is, where the big man at, Travis? Because we were ranked nationally. We were one of the worst nationally in rebounding.
Yeah.
We were 34.7 rebounds per game. That's tied for 268th. Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas. We had Jackson Hayes, most recently lottery picked. Where the big man at? I think we need to go get a big man. I don't know what the recruiting's looking like for the big guys, but I think we got to reload. I think that's where we got to start.
Yeah, I agree. We talked about this earlier in the season, and Corey seemed not to be as concerned about it as I was, because Caden Shedrick was their biggest guy. I think Caden was 6'10", but he was coming off the bench essentially behind Dessou. Dessou is 6'9", 6'8", 6'9", something like that. You don't necessarily have to. And here's what I compare it to: is I watch some of these teams that are playing through this weekend. I see most of these teams have that 6'11", 7-foot guy who kind of broad-shouldered, can get down, block out, rebound on the defensive side of the court. Because it's not all about what they are offensively anymore, but it's about that defensive rebounding.
Yes.
And being able to get the big defensive rebounds when you need them. I think that was where Texas struggled at times. Was there were several games when late in games, and by the way, this is something that's not necessarily new to basketball, but has become more and more popular year over year over year, is the tap out rebound.
Yes.
Right? Because if there's two guys down low, and one of them's a 6'10", and he's trying to get the defensive rebound, and you're 6'9", so you're giving up an inch, but you're going to go up with one hand.
Yes.
And that big guy's got to go up with two hands and try to bring it down. You get up quicker, get to it first, knock it out.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you've changed the game. Texas didn't seem to be able to do that as much this year. And in cases where where it was more of a traditional rebound setup, they were getting outsized at times as well. And so, it just wasn't a good look. Look. One thing we know about college sports these days, the transfer portal is going to open up. And so we got to see what happens in the transfer portal. The recruiting rankings, I haven't really looked at them as much as I used to look at recruiting rankings, but I do know that we do have. Let's see here, Trey Johnson, the number 5 overall shooting guard out of Dallas, 6'6", 185. He's a Texas signee. So we've also got Cameron Scott, 6'5", 185, out of Lexington, South Carolina. He's a small forward, and so he's going to come in this year. We've got another signee, Nick Cody, out of Carrollton Newman Smith High School, 6'7", 210.
Okay.
So not a lot of the 6'10", 6'11", 7-foot guys on there, but you get long. Look, I'll tell you what. I've seen some Baylor teams play without 7-footers, but play with a lot of 6'8", 6'9" guys. If you can get 4 of those guys on the floor, you can make up for some of that undersizedness at the 5 position, quote unquote, the old 5, the center position, by getting more length on the floor with your other position. So maybe that's the way they have to go moving forward.
Oh, so that's where my next question was going to be that to you. Do we have to adjust? Because nowadays, here's what we know. If you're a 7-footer, you're going to the league. I mean, almost all the time, that's going to be the case.
Yeah.
Because if you're a 7-footer and you can move, I guess if you go to college, you're there for one, and then you're gone anyway. And here I am. I should know that. So I'm trying to fall in love. I'm trying to blame teams for not having it. And as I look through the rosters here, I'm looking at, there aren't a lot of teams that are left in the NCAA tournament that have 7-footers.
No, there really are.
I see 6'11s, 6'10s, and that's, I think it's to that point. If you're a 7-footer and you're a junior or you're a senior, the question is, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Why did it take you to? Why did you stay this long in college and not make it to the pros? Well, Jackson Hayes. I mean, I mentioned him. Was he here a year? He didn't play 2 years.
I think
did
he played 2 years.
Okay,
I think.
and he's out, so he definitely didn't make it to that junior year.
Right.
So all right, so I guess that proves the point. I looked back. We lost to Tennessee, and Tennessee only had one 6'11" guy. They didn't even have a 7-footer. They didn't even have someone 6'10".
Yeah.
Because we only have one 6'11". You hit it, Shedrick, Caden. But
And hey, by that theory, right? I thought the best looking real center that was left was Omar Ballo out of Arizona.
Oh.
He's a pure 7-footer, got big broad shoulders, plays down low.
Yeah.
He does a lot of I can't remember the game I was watching. They were trying to front him a lot, and he would get his hip on his backside and ask for that lob down low. He was a true low post center. He's out of the tournament now.
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
that's,
No 7-footers left. Do you think he's going pro? I don't even know what year he is.
he's
Though, but-
he's 21 years old.
Oh, so he may have to go. Whether
Yeah, I don't know.
because that eligibility is going to be gone. He'll be in Bologna, Italy, if he doesn't get to the league. But 7 foot, I mean, he's going to have some opportunities to come back.
Yeah.
Maybe certainly, some G League opportunities. I mean, we'll take him. We'll take him if he wants to come on over here and play for the Austin Spurs.
Yeah. So
That I didn't know we were going to get into dimensions, but it just kind of occurred to me about the lack of size that's still available nowadays.
no, and it is interesting because I don't know that there's like as Homo sapiens continue to evolve,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't seem to me that there are less people growing to the height of 7 foot tall in the world. Maybe there's less of them that are interested in basketball. Maybe there's less that are fitting into the game of basketball the way they used to. Mm-hmm. Maybe there are, if you're a 7-footer in high school, or you don't find the right AAU team, and you find a team that just wants 5 guys who can get outside the 3-point line and shoot all the time, you may not found the right home, and you may not fall in love with the game the way you should.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's, we know nowadays, we talked to when Albert Burdett comes in here, we talked to him about the fact that he was a 6'8" low post presence. But if he had been a player in high school these days, he'd probably be encouraged to get outside the 3-point line and shoot more.
Yeah.
And if that's not what you enjoy doing, you may not fall in love with the game anymore. So, but I don't know. It's watching this recruiting season for Texas and how they retool. Of course, they're going into the SEC.
Yeah.
Will be interesting to watch.
Could help recruiting.
Good.
It could help recruiting classes, some athletes that want to come in. It could draw, this is weird to even say, but could draw more attention to University of Texas. We may draw more interest to basketball, but we all know that it's certainly going to help football.
Right. That's for sure.
Hey, did you see, so we're not getting Byron Washington for football? I thought he was coming, and then I looked up and I saw that he's not coming. Were you familiar with Byron Washington? He was a player. I want to say he's Dallas area. I was so in love, of course, because my last name's Washington, and I really wanted him to come. And I saw that he was committed, and he was not coming to UT. And I was just kind of curious if that was something that you were familiar with. It hurt my feelings.
He's a big offensive tackle out of DeSoto.
Yeah.
I have not kept up as much. Looks like at this point he's committed to Syracuse.
Yeah, which is a shock. The snow, they got lake effect snow up there. That's where you're going? I am shocked. I'd like to know how they swung that. Because I could have swore I saw some, maybe if he took the tweets down, but I almost am sure there was a lot of UT talk on his X I guess I can't say tweets anymore. But
Well, and he's a class of 2025 guy, so he's got one more year of high school left.
so you think
So-
you're saying there's a chance?
I'm saying that he may have only gotten offers from schools that maybe weren't his top choices, but he felt like he needed to take a commitment.
Okay.
And if he performs well his senior year, he might garner more interest from some bigger schools, if you will,
Okay.
and see if he doesn't open up his commitment, his recruiting again
Yeah.
at some point. If Scott's good, he's 6'7.5", 380,
Oh my gosh.
right? And so
High schooler.
and
folks. High schooler.
high school kid, yeah,
Travis, you said you played linebacker, right?
defensive end. I was a
Defensive end. And you said this gentleman's offense?
He's an offensive tackle.
So, what are you doing, Travis, when he lines
Yeah.
up across from you?
I ain't getting around it. I played in high school. In high school, I played against. In fact, I graduated high school with an offensive guard who went to Baylor and then went to Chicago Bears,
Hey.
who was 6'5", 350.
Okay.
We had another player in our district for another team. Name was Earl Bell, Big Earl Bell. Earl was 6'4", 365. He played tackle. And I did play defensive end against him. And I was not a very effective pass rusher that game.
Yeah.
There's a long ways around him.
Travis,
Let's put it that way.
you used all your moves? Did you swim?
used
Did you
them all.
club? Did you
I used them all. It didn't matter.
did you
He just
spin? Did you,
He swallowed me up. I mean, I was 5'11", 160.
oh, my God.
I was
Travis, you had speed.
I was giving up 200 pounds to him.
Yeah.
And he was at least 3 times as wide as me.
Sheesh.
So yeah, if I gave him the outside move and tried to go inside, it didn't matter. The guy's arm span,
Yes.
like it wasn't getting any by him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was not a good matchup for me.
Yeah. Wow. That's perspective.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So
Yeah. Well, I was just kind of curious if you knew and your thoughts on him. Yeah, DeSoto guy.
yep.
Yeah.
That did bring up. We're kind of getting off topic here. We got a few minutes before we go to the next break, and then we'll come back after the break. I wanted to bring this up. I heard this on a discussion up on a radio station I listen to in the Dallas area, and it was DeSoto. When you look at their offensive line averages 325.
Wow.
Right, their defensive line averages like 285. I mean, they've got speed all over the place. They are turning out Division I recruits like nothing. They are right now. I believe, are the top all-around overall program in the state. And the question was brought up:
Yeah.
if you took DeSoto's state championship team this year, how far back would you have to go in time before you match them up against a Super Bowl team and they would win?
Oh, wow.
With the changes in nutrition and the changes in training, and the changes in could you take like the 76 Cowboys? 76 Cowboys, I think their offensive line averaged like 265. Their defensive line, now they were great players. Look, they're Hall of Famers on that team, right? Roger Staubach quarterbacked that team. But it was interesting that these young guys, they're in training programs by the time they're 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. So they haven't played as much football as those 60s and 70s NFL guys would have played.
Yeah.
But those 60s and 70s NFL guys used to go to the sideline and smoke a cigarette. You know what I'm saying? It's like, would they look at a high school kid and go, these high school kids, we're going to take them, and then see one of these DeSoto wideouts or running backs that runs like a 4.34 or 40 and go, holy crap, where's that kid coming from? So,
What part of Texas are they from? No, that's a good point. I saw something the other day kind of similar, and it was It was like a stacked high school basketball team versus an all time. I think it was it was the Ball brothers. That team goes down, and certainly in California is one of the greatest teams of all time. All three were on it versus another. But I like yours because now we're talking about the very best, the pros.
Right.
Well, I like that. So we did distract you. We had a couple more. So you were recapping just what we saw last week, and were there any other ones from last week that caught your eye for the NCAA outcomes from last week? We went a little far on Texas. I mean, it's okay. We can homer out a little bit. I was just kind of curious. Arizona beat Dayton. North Carolina beat Michigan State. Iowa State beat Washington State. I don't think that much confused you. Illinois, higher seed, beat Duquesne.
Yeah.
Creighton, higher seed, beat Oregon. Gonzaga knocking out Kansas, though. A little bit higher ranking. That's a 5 beating a 4.
Yeah, so Gonzaga is the team for me that I've got my eye on because right now, I think every game they play, they continue to show that they're the best team in the tournament, and that's UConn. They win by 30 last night.
Yeah.
And it was a 4 or 6 point game at the half.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah, and then they win by 30. And so when I look at what kind of matchups do I think can possibly upset that? Gonzaga Purdue tonight. Purdue, we've talked about their failures in the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
They haven't had any scares this time right now. Zach Edey's playing really well. I'm interested to see a veteran team like Gonzaga with a veteran head coach, if they can get by Purdue. I'm trying to line up the teams that I think could beat UConn in either a Final Four or a final game matchup. And I think if Purdue survives, because of Zach Edey, because of the big man inside, certainly they're a tough matchup for anybody. Do Creighton or Tennessee, do either one of those show me that they can beat UConn? Tennessee gets really hot.
Yeah.
If Tennessee turns it into a 100-point game, they might be able to. Can Houston lock down UConn on D and turn it into a scrapyard fight?
And stay in the game and not foul out.
Right.
Well, we asked for it. We're going to get it. That Purdue team has 2 7-footers. They got a 7'2". Zach Edey is 7'4".
Yes.
I don't know how much long. And he's a senior. He is what we made fun of. He's from Canada, though, so maybe that's why he maybe decided to stay in school and be a little more from Toronto area, but be a little more loyal to Gonzaga, to Purdue.
Yeah.
I
just think I like it. I'm not trying to look too far. In fact, let's get to a break.
Okay.
Let's get to a break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll go maybe finish up this conversation. Go into Major League Baseball, NBA. We haven't talked NBA yet today. We'll do it. And we are back on the Fans View. KAZI 88.7. Travis Kent, Douglas, Washington. We're finishing up our NCAA tournament talk. Just wanted to mention the Illinois conversation we were having before we get into NBA talk.
Yeah.
Or the UConn conversation, rather. They'll play Illinois tomorrow. Illinois, that took out Iowa State, is a scrappy team and a team that I think will give UConn their toughest test up to this point. I don't think they have enough, though, to beat UConn. And so as we continue to look through this tournament, that's what I'm looking for is who can beat UConn? And they're just so well coached. They're so good fundamentally, and they're just going to be a tough team to take out. So.
Are we about to change our opinion on Hurley? If he gets back-to-back natties, do we have to start giving this guy? I mean, when's the last time we had a coach go back-to-back? Especially, he's not a young coach necessarily, but
Yeah.
we may have to change our opinion of him.
Well, I mean,
shortly.
I've look, the Hurley family's.
Yes.
I mean, of course, Bobby's the one that we all found out about, right? Because of his play at Duke and play in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But the story then was son of a basketball coach.
Uh-huh.
Dan Hurley, the legendary coach of, and I don't even know what he was legendary coach of. Was he a high school or a small college coach up in the Northeast? And I don't even remember the whole story of it, but that was the whole storyline. And then he has this brother that comes through, and now Bobby spent. I think Bobby is a coach.
Yeah.
As well. But certainly Danny right now is holding the reins to the family legacy with what he's doing at UConn. So, but they're certainly a good coaching family right there.
Yeah.
I want to transition into the NBA, and let's get a good discussion going on the NBA as we are down the stretch headed towards the playoffs. And when you look through, this year in the NBA, I think has been a really good overall season, and I mean that in that I believe this is the most balanced I've seen the leagues overall. Here's my argument, right? Is you go 8 deep in the East with teams that have a winning record.
Yes.
We've had years where the East had teams with losing records in the 7th and 8th spot.
Yes.
Right? So the 76ers holding that 8th spot right now are 5 games over 500. The Heat, who have played a game less, are 6 games over 500. All right, so now we go to the Western Conference, and we go down to the 8th spot, the Sacramento Kings, who are 12 games over 500.
Uh-huh.
And then the 9th place team is a team that's 9 games over 500. The 10th place team is 4 games over 500. That's Golden State. The 11th place team, the Rockets, who, by the way, the Rockets are riding a rocket right now.
I don't know what I'm seeing here.
They've won 10 straight now, and they are sitting at 37 and 35 as the 11th seed in the West.
They may make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, they're not eliminated yet.
They are not eliminated yet.
They were dead.
They are, like, take the Lakers, for instance. The Lakers have won 5 straight.
Yeah.
But the Rockets are just a couple of games behind Golden State.
Yes.
And so if Golden State or the Lakers go through their funks and Houston stays on this rocket ship ride they're on, it's possible that LA or Golden State could possibly not even be in the play-in games.
Yes.
Who would have bet on that at the beginning of the year?
I wouldn't hold it against Phoenix and Sacramento to fall back over these last 12 games or so, 11 games or so. Also, in their last 10, both teams are only 6-4. To your point, with that 5-game win streak, that helps the Lakers, who are 7-3 in their last 10. But a hot Rocket team for us in the state of Texas, I will take it. And for us that are just fans of basketball, you don't want to see a hot team like that go to waste. So if they're just going to keep winning, I want them in the playoffs, because now I just want to know, can you ride this? I don't think we've ever seen anything like this before. I'm trying to remember a team that got hot like this, carried it into the playoffs, and then made noise. I'm going to go back and look at that Nuggets team that took down the Sonics, wasn't it? The Dikembe Mutombo team.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to see how they finish the season, but I love it. I really love it.
Well, I tell you, if you're a state of Texas NBA basketball fan, you can enjoy watching the Spurs because of Wembanyama.
Yes.
But we knew what they were going to be this year.
Yes.
But right now, the Mavericks in their last 10 games are 9-1, and the Rockets are 10-0. So, two teams that are heading towards the playoffs at this point. It appears that Josh Gafford move that the Mavericks made is paying off for them. Their pick and roll game right now is on point. Kyrie and Luka seem to have a rhythm going that we thought. You timeline it. We're just barely over a year removed from the move that got Kyrie to Dallas. So, it took about a year.
Yeah.
But here we are with them playing maybe their best basketball together since they've been together. And they hold down the 6th spot right now, which is very important because it stays out of the play-in games. And they're a couple of games behind the New Orleans Pelicans and the Clippers, who are right there with 45 wins apiece. And so, none of these teams are just going to give up their position.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go take it. But the Mavericks at 9-1, their last 10 games certainly are challenging. They're game for the fight.
For the Mavs, if you have to look back at it, having those two guards, Derek Lively came in. He's been playing some good ball when he's been healthy. He's had some time that he's missed. They've crafted a great team around, and this is all about retaining Luka. Whatever you can do to retain Luka, and I hope this proves, however this year turns out, I just hope this proves something to Luka, that they're willing to make moves and that he sticks and stays. I know I'm getting ahead of myself,
yeah.
but I think that's where we're at now, and I hope to what you were saying is that the front office knows what they're doing. That if you're patient, you give him some time. Sorry that Porzingis wasn't what we thought he was going to be, but yeah. That front office is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah.
I just want to also ask you one other thing. Since you brought up Wembanyama, I want to ask you this. Bol made some statements this week. I don't know if you heard it.
No.
And his statement was, you guys need to stop clout riding. And I understand that it's all about Wembanyama. More specifically, what he was saying was the referees are giving Wembanyama too much attention, favorable calls. So my question to you, Travis, is: do special people deserve special privileges? I'm talking the Lakers. If you didn't see it this week, there was a lot of talk about the Lakers having a disparity in the amount of free throws that they've taken in relation to other teams. I see that. I could agree with that, and I can understand that. My opinion, but I'm just curious in your opinion. Remember those years when James Harden was getting MVP and he was taking a lot of free throws.
Yeah,
a lot of the top scorers get a lot of free throws, and maybe deservedly, maybe not. But do special people deserve special privileges, Travis?
Deserve? No. I would rather see what I would consider more balanced officiating.
Yeah.
Part of the problem, as I see it, is that the NBA has become, and I got to temper the way I say this, because I realize what I'm doing is I'm speaking against other eras. In other words,
okay.
Think back to the Pistons and the Bulls and those eras, and that was rough basketball,
yes,
right?
It was.
And then the NBA kind of wanted to get away from that.
Mm-hmm.
That was too physical.
Yes.
So the game's moved more outside, and it's become more friendly to the shooter. And so, but to that point, I think they've gotten to a point where the officials, especially on drives to the lane, allow more body contact than they have over just the past handful of years, right? I'm not going back to a different era. I'm just kind of saying in this era that body contact is getting more and more allowed. But you are seeing the calls that are made appear skewed towards the Stars.
Yeah.
Now, I say appears because, by the way, the Stars are the ones who are driving the ball the most.
Yes, they are.
And so if you say that, on drives to the bucket, there's a foul call on, I'm just pulling a number out of the sky, 38% of the drives.
Yes.
And then you say, and on drives that LeBron and Luka and blah, 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 and blah, 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 they're getting 22% of those calls or whatever it is. And then, if your name is Joe or John or Jim or Bob, you're not getting those calls. That's more subjective. My eye tells me that the quote-unquote Jordan rules still exist for some players.
Yeah.
And I wish it didn't happen. I don't know how to stop it, though.
Well, Travis, when we talk about in the game plays, we have these cameras. We got all these angles now, and so you want to get it right. We don't have the grainy TVs anymore. We've got better angles. We have better technology. So when Kelly Oubre from the Philadelphia 76ers the other day drives to the hoop for the game-winning basket, and there's a great defensive play by Kawhi Leonard to win the game for the Clippers, when you just hear that, you're okay with that, right, Travis? You kind of expect that from a guy called the Claw.
Right.
But upon further review, upon replay, officials admitted we messed that up. And he actually was fouled, and he would have got to the line with a chance to win it. Mm-hmm. That's why I want to get it right. Yeah. I don't want favoritism. I do believe special people get special privileges when it comes to retention, and we're here to see. We want to see Wembanyama on that free throw line because we want to see if he can shoot them or not, which still is eye-grabbing because we're like, how can he not shoot that? And he shoots better from three-pointer than he does. But when you get that kind of info that comes out later that we all can see, it does hurt the product.
Yeah, that's almost a little bit of a different narrative even than the rules for the Stars, right? Because that's the swallow the whistle late in the game. That is the quote unquote let the players decide it on the floor.
Right.
I always remember, and I'm I can't remember. It was Wally Zerbiak or Doug McDermott, one of those big 6'9" white guys who used to shoot from the corner all the time.
When you said the two names, I already knew what they look like and that they might kind of look alike.
I remember an interview one time. Uh-huh. It was late in the game. It was one of these 2.5 seconds left. He said they ran a play for me to where they were supposed to get the ball to me in the corner to shoot a corner three.
Yeah.
And he goes, so I took 3 steps inside the 3-point line, and then when it was time for me to break, he goes, I just shoved the guy inside, jumped outside of the 3-point line, they threw it to me, and I made the shot. He goes, because I knew they weren't going to make that call.
It's just that when I agree with you, but then I disagree of the way I framed it. Because when I gave it to you, I made sure I reminded you it's Kawhi Leonard. So did we let him get away with it because we assumed he made the play? So I thought that was the special guy privileges.
Yeah, but I think it's more of a swallow the whistle play than it was a Kawhi Leonard call.
Okay.
In that situation, but it's hard to decipher. There's so many. I was thinking about this earlier this week, and this has come up in my mind several times. I've got some crazy ideas about the NBA that I'd be willing to share. I think the corner 3-pointer should go away.
Oh,
I think
or extend it out.
I think what you do is you either take the existing 3-point line as it is, and instead of having to go straight down so you can shoot a corner 3, just go to the sidelines with it, and there is no corner 3 anymore. All that area up top, that's a 3-pointer. That is just the percentage rate on the corner 3 is going up and up and up and up in the NBA. Now, does that make it a less desirable game to watch? That's not my job to figure out. The NBA is going to figure that out, and they'll make the rule the way they want to. That's just my idea for a rule change, okay? I've debated this a number of times in my head. Do you go to 4 officials or do you go back to 2 officials in the NBA?
Oh.
In other words, do you lean into this? We're going to try to become better at officiating. We're going to put 4 officials on the floor.
Yeah.
But does the complaining stop? It does not.
No, it won't.
So, why don't you take an official off the floor? Go back to just 2 officials and just say, look, folks, there are calls that are missed all the time. We're doing the best we can. But we're just going to go back to the way things used to be. We're going to let basketball be decided by basketball. 2 officials on the floor. You guys go at it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think they'll ever go to 4 officials, really. I don't see how it benefits them any. And I don't see how you can do much more with replay in basketball because it slows the game down so much.
It does.
Opening day of baseball was yesterday. And obviously every year we get more and more talk about do balls and strikes become automated.
Robo umpires.
Exactly. And last night in the Rangers game, there was a late in the game in the 9th inning, runner at second base for the Cubs, pitch low, not in the dirt, but a low pitch, and it was called no foul tip, and so Jonah Heim, the catcher for the Rangers, goes down. It goes off the side of his glove. He thought it was a foul tip, and so didn't show any urgency to get up and see it, and then realized the umpire was calling it no tip. The guy comes all the way from second, comes around and scores. Upon further review on replay, the ball, you can see the ball deflect, but it was foul tipped. Not a very big foul tip. I mean, it deflects just a couple of inches, barely hit. Understandable why the umpire didn't hear it click. He didn't see it move because it was so low. It was understandable, but it's also not replayable. And so Chicago scores. Now end up in the next inning, Travis Jankowski hits a solo home run to make it 3-3. Rangers go to extra innings and then eventually win it. So no harm, no foul, right?
Yeah.
But those are situations where there are leagues who might look into expanding replay.
Yeah.
I don't think replay is a very good option for the NBA. I just think it slows the game. We already slow the game down too much with who did it last go out of bounds on.
Yep.
Nothing kills the last 2 minutes of a basketball game more than every out-of-bounds play having to go to replay to figure out who touched it last. I say make the call and move on. Yes, there's going to be some there's going to be some unfortunate misses, but I don't. It's in the NBA to me remains, and along with hockey, by the way. I don't mean to. It's not one of our top 3. It's number 4 in our country, right? But but hockey's kind of the same way. You would just slow the game down way too much if you interjected too much replay into the game.
Yeah, I don't think the fans will be pushing for it. I don't ever hear anybody talking about the need. And I think, it is a bigger topic for baseball when it comes to robo-umping. I wanted to clean up a few things here. So Bobby Hurley, his dad, Danny Hurley, his dad Bob, won 26 state championships in 39 years as a coach. So it's a now closed school, St. Anthony's.
Okay.
So, man, that's quite a run.
That's a pretty good run.
26 and 13 out of your 39 years, you're going to win a championship. Yeah. So, he came to 10th coach in high school history to win 1,000 games. 5 of his teams have gone undefeated. So, if you come from that coaching tree, we talk about if you worked under, but certainly if you were coached or your father was, maybe this will help the sons and their legacy going forward. Just built off the dad. Just to close that up there, since we had it. Okay, so you were going over the NBA and some of the opportunities. So we're not counting Houston out. We don't know what could happen if they keep winning. What about over there, the Brooklyn Nets? I think that on the East we can call it out. Brooklyn Nets are 29 games back. They're 28 and 45. we're happy about everyone else, but no one's looking at the 11th place team over there.
Yeah, we just talked about the Rockets going on a 10-game win streak to get to 2 games over 500, but Brooklyn doesn't appear to me to be set up to go on a similar stretch to try and start challenging for one of those playoff spots. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, not going to happen. Are you going to be shocked if the Boston Celtics make a move this offseason if they don't win the championship?
No. If they don't win a championship this year, it would surprise me if they don't shake something up.
Yeah, I think they have to. I think at this point you've been the number 1 seed. You guys have such a lead. It's an 11-game lead over the second place team that has Giannis, a past MVP in the Milwaukee Bucks. When you're up this big, you're 32-3 at home. I think it has to be shaken up. We got to find people that are going to take those contracts. I do believe that Jaylen Brown is he's attractive enough for other teams to maybe want to bring him in. We don't hear of any off-season issues, off-court issues. Sorry, he does a lot in the community, certainly. So that whatever town you put him in, he's just going to blossom there. Anything else that you would say about the East in regards to that number? I thought the only topic is that number 1 seed, Boston Celtics, and what they may not do.
It really is, because look, at this point, I think everyone's going to be surprised if the Celtics don't win the East. I think everyone's going to be surprised if it's not Boston and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes.
Look, can I tell you I've seen the Knicks and the Cavaliers enough this year to be able to tell you whether I think they can actually challenge Milwaukee? I can't actually say that. I don't know that I've seen Cleveland play more than just clips on TV, and I probably haven't seen much more of that than the Knicks, where I have sat down and watched Celtics games and Bucks games. But just in what I've seen, I doubt that either one of those teams can take down the Bucks in a series to be able to get to Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics. I would be surprised if it's not Celtics and Bucks.
I just wanted to draw your attention to that Milwaukee is on a 2-game lose streak, and New York is coming. They are 3 in a row, and so I just thought
they are in their 8-2 in their last 10. You're right.
How did I not know you know that, since Jalen Brunson plays for them now?
Yeah.
So I just thought for our Texas people, maybe they're paying attention because Jalen's on that team, and if Jalen can take that team hot into the playoffs, and if they can go get a 2nd seed while Milwaukee is stumbling, rumbling, fumbling, I think we're all kind of watching New York because of Jalen.
I guess from like my comments are more geared towards that I think that Milwaukee is playoff ready, playoff tested.
Okay.
To where, because so you look at the East, right? 2 through 6 are separated by like 4 or 5 games.
Yes.
And that's Milwaukee down to the Pacers. And so like the Pacers, I think they're a good basketball team. I think the Magic are a pretty good basketball team. Yeah. Look, they're 12 games over 500. So I'm not trying to dismiss them. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to say that in a series, come playoff time, I don't think anybody else has the experience. Now, Rick Carlisle, coaching the Pacers, certainly has experience. Would I put it past him to put together a game plan that made made a series very tight? No, I don't. But I just feel like Milwaukee kind of waits for the playoffs and then turns the engine on at that point. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm basing it on. Could I be wrong? Yeah, I could be wrong. But
well, I want to say you're wrong because I think you forgot who their coach is. Doc Rivers? Sounds like you're pretty confident. You forgot, Travis.
No, I didn't forget.
You were just going off of Giannis.
But I am putting it more on the court.
Okay.
For them. Yeah. But look.
There's anybody knows that's a valid 3-1.
That's a valid point.
It's a Doc Rivers team.
It is. You're right. You're I don't really have an argument against that.
Okay, then let me give you these last couple ones. Then there are 2 NBA championship winning team coaches. There are 2 NBA championship coached teams left. The Miami Heat with Spoelstra, and then you've got who else was I going to say there?
Steve Kerr.
No, in the East, I was going to give you.
I'm
sorry. What was I going to go with? Indiana Pacers. Was it the Pacers? Yeah.
Rick Carlisle.
Yeah. So I was going to give you the Pacers Heat. Because those coaches have won already, are you giving them a chance? Because I heard what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know Boston is way out in front. I know Milwaukee's way out front. But can the coaches sway you? That's why I wanted it to bleed. I wanted to bleed you with Doc, and then I wanted to lead you with these two guys to try to change your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, we did see Miami make a big run last year, right?
Yes,
I mean, so as I sit here in my mindset right now is Boston and Milwaukee have the two best rosters, and I expect them to be playing against each other in the East.
Yes, sir.
That's my assertion. But I don't dismiss what Miami did last year, and I can't dismiss that Rick Carlisle has the coaching chops to be able to cobble together something that certainly could scare the daylights out of those teams in a series. I'm not dismissing that at all.
Okay.
I think certainly, and you know, it's if you start, you know, Jimmy Butler's still in Miami. Jimmy Butler can still take over a series, so it's not out of the realm of possibility for sure. All right, so we need to get to a break. We'll come back for the last segment. We got a little bit more we can talk about here. We can also hit on a few other things in the sports world right here on Douglas, Washington. We wrapped up NBA talk. I don't know if you had any other comments you wanted to get in on that.
No, sir. I think we know the West is going to be something great to watch, and we're hoping that the East will have some drama with some of those NBA championship coach teams.
2 weeks from now, we're going to be hot and heavy in the NBA
That's
talk
true.
anyway.
That's
so,
true.
We'll certainly be talking about them next week as we get headed even closer to the playoff time. But playoffs will begin in earnest here in just a couple of weeks, and so we'll be hot and heavy in it. But one of the things we wanted to get to was the NFL because the NFL does a great job of making sure they get talked about on a regular basis.
There's two things I want to ask you then about NFL. I want to see if I can sway you. This was what I teased when we came on the air today. So there are two people and two body items I want to offer.
Okay.
So physically, if there's a quarterback that goes out and runs a 4.4, would that sway you, Travis?
So, it would certainly open my eyes.
Yeah.
But it's not going to overshadow whatever I think his arm talent is.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And I would only offer, and you know, I'm not trying to. I've got no special quarterback. I've always said, I don't know if you've heard me say this. I've said it a few times, but I've said this for years. I would love to be an NFL general manager, but not be in charge of the quarterback position. I want somebody else to be in charge of the quarterback position.
Yeah, that'll get you fired.
Yes, that'll get you fired. Everyone gets fired because of bad decisions made at the quarterback
we're
position.
Stuck with this guy for 5 years. Thanks, Travis.
Exactly.
Hey, Travis, that's your boy. Go talk to him.
That's right.
We'll do that.
So that's always been my running joke is I want the job of not picking the quarterback, but I want to pick every other position.
Well, then this is great then, because the second one I want to talk about is, I said body, is physical. Everyone's worried about Jaden Daniels and his size or lack of size. Coming in at 210. Now, I think we can agree that's more than what Lamar was.
Yeah.
But does that sway you when it comes to a Heisman winning, played in the SEC quarterback? You see how I laid that out there for you to see if any of this is going to distract you.
Yeah. No. So it doesn't really bother me from overall. And you know, when you go back over the history of drafting the quarterback position, I mean, look, you know, is Baker Mayfield, is he 5'10" or is he 5'11"? Kyler Murray, is he 5'9" or is he 5'10"?
Yep.
You know, there are so, you know, so-and-so's hands are the smallest by any quarterback by a half inch. And I'm like,
crap, who was that?
I'm like, I'm like, I go, but he throws a beautiful ball, and he throws it on the money, and he hits the guys in the hands. And, I would much rather look at their throws and see what they can do. Now, does a 210 quarterback versus a 245-pound quarterback open himself up to injury on a hit more? Yeah, possibly. But I can't draft off of fear of getting injured. I have to draft what I feel like is the best quarterback. And if you do that, and you end up with Luck, the Colts quarterback, Oliver,
with the mullet.
he retired just a couple years ago. Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
If you draft the best quarterback that's out there,
yeah,
and he has to retire because of injury in year 5 or 6 or whatever year he ended up retiring, that's just a breaks the game.
Yeah.
I don't think you can be scared. Don't tell me that you think the best quarterback in the draft weighs 195 pounds, but you're going to draft a 245-pound quarterback who's the 8th best quarterback because you think he won't get hurt. Because you know what that's going to do? That's going to make you a bad football team again. Take the best quarterback you think there is. Where it becomes more muddled nowadays is merging that into what style of quarterback play they play. Are they pure pocket? Are they escapers? Are they runners? And how often do you expect them to take hits in vulnerable positions?
Yeah.
That type of thing. And so that's where really I feel like it comes more into play of figuring out where to be scared about a quarterback.
Yeah. Okay. I think sometimes we can get distracted by that. Russell Wilson went to back-to-back Super Bowls, one play call away from maybe his legacy looks different since he went back-to-back. I mean, up until now, he would have been the only one until Mahomes just did it. So he's a short guy. I mean, you said Kyler Murray, but yeah, I was going to go there. You said our local guy from Westlake, but
Baker.
It's just Baker, yeah. But it's Steph Curry. Steph Curry, that's why he went to Davidson, because he was small and no one wanted him, and now look at him. 4 championships later, he came into the league. He had some injuries. He had to, change his body and do some stuff, and look how he turned out. So
we watched Steph Curry in the NCAA tournament with Davidson, taking the tournament by storm, going, how did all these better teams miss on this guy?
I know.
And they all say, yeah, we thought he was too small.
Yep. Yeah.
I go, well, maybe you ought to see how well he shoots and evaluate that first, and then evaluate where you can play him at.
Since we're talking this, you said it. If you were a general manager, I know you said you didn't want to do the quarterback.
That's right.
But what's the expectation, though, Travis? Is the expectation even nowadays, hey, we're getting the guy that we're going to have for 12, 15 years? How many years has Dak been there? 8 years? 8 years,
yeah.
Is that the expectation? Because I think that should be an anomaly. That can't be the expectation. One contract. I can't say does everybody think you're going to get 10 years out of a quarterback?
I think at the quarterback position, that is the expectation. Wow. I think there's a lot of positions where that's not. In other words, I would say the center and guard position, certain linebacker positions, safety position, things like that. I think those are where you look at I'm always looking to draft and stay young and keep that price point lower at those positions.
Yeah.
Pass rush end, impact wide receivers, quarterback, shut down corners. Those are the positions where you really would love to find your 10-year guy and be able to say, I'm going to spend money. I know I'm going to have to pay that wide receiver a lot, that quarterback a lot, and that pass rushing end a lot. But they're going to pay me back with wins, and then I'm going to be saving money in some of these other positions, hopefully, quote unquote.
Well, then I want to give you my opinion, because my opinion is the game is changing, and no one stays there long term anymore. And also, now that people are realizing I can win with a rookie deal quarterback, because when I look around the league, I think, tell me someone that stayed there for 10 years, and I don't really necessarily see it. So if that's the expectation, we ain't proving it. We don't see it. Even Kyler Murray, I bet if we came in and we were like, yo, Kyler's leaving, well, that wasn't 10 years. And then it kind of proves the point again. Someone that's drafted nowadays, and I'm going to say, let's just say Patrick Mahomes era. Maybe I'll give you 2 more years on the other side of the Patrick Mahomes era. That's where I think. That's my opinion.
Let me run this past you and ask you if this plays into your theory.
All right.
Right? If you're the Miami Dolphins with Tua.
Oh. Okay. Touche.
Are you ready? Are you ready now? Tua's going to enter his next phase. He needs a new contract. They may have actually given him a contract at this point. I don't even remember. But you've spent 3, 4, 5 years with this guy running your offense. And here's why I come up with this, because Joel Klatt, the Fox college football announcer, put out an article this week that he feels that Michael Penix would be an upgrade over Tua.
Wow.
At Miami, right?
Yeah.
And so, but are you like Tua's shown like that's a high-powered offense.
Yep.
That's an offense put up a lot of points. But are you ready to put your money where your mouth is and say, thank you for everything you've done for us, Tua. We're going to trade up and go get Michael Penix, pay less for Michael Penix, and let you leave as a free agent.
I had to look it up. First round, 21st pick, Miami Dolphins. Yeah, I would do it. But I'm high on Penix, and I am not sold on what we have with durability from Tua and the money. And when I look at the receivers he has, because I think we want to keep Cheetah. I think Waddle. And what they did with their running backs, they found a couple guys. They're so fast. Because of that, this was what I was going to see. I was going to go get a journeyman. I wanted to see who were the 2024 free agent quarterbacks still left out there, and like see if I could go get a Joe Flacco. I know he's already settled, but I bring him in behind Penix and around Penix. So yes, I would say that, and I hope my buddy Naman is not listening. He's a old college buddy, longtime Dolphins fan. I would.
I hear what you're saying. It's such a gamble. So this is what
it is.
This is where a lot of this began, right? Is Washington and Kirk Cousins.
Oh, you mean
they franchise tagged him twice because they couldn't figure out if he was their guy or not.
Yeah.
And then after the second franchise tag, they decided to let him go. Then he goes to Minnesota. At Minnesota, how would you describe his years at Minnesota?
Great.
I would too.
Yeah.
And then
he spun that ball. He had some good talent around him. That running back was awesome. They went before the wide receiver went to Buffalo. Diggs. Yeah. He had a decent tight end play.
And then Minnesota had to make the same decision again. Now it's time for another.
Well, but he was coming off Achilles. He was old. Do you think that factored in?
Certainly that did.
Because he wasn't like the most athletic.
Certainly, but they were about to have to make another decision.
Yes, they were.
Do we give him another?
I know.
Do we give this, what is 33, 34?
Yeah, because he's RG3's age.
Yeah. So do we give 34-year-old Kirk Cousins another $45 million a year for 4 years?
Oh, my God.
Or do we let him walk away? And that's... you have to make these decisions in 4 or 5 year increments, and when you've invested something, like I totally get people that say I totally get when people look at a quarterback that hasn't won playoff games or whatever, Dak Prescott, Tony Romo, whatever the case may be, right? I totally get when those folks say that they are that it's time to move on, it's time to go somewhere else. But the fact of the matter is, I see too many. I see 20 franchises out there with a guy named Joe at quarterback that can't play his way out of a football bag, out of a paper bag. And when I'm sitting here with Dak Prescott as my quarterback, and you're telling me gamble that you can find somebody better, I just find it hard to restart that clock again, because it's not doing it in 1 and 2 year bursts. Like the running back position, I think you can do that in 2 year fragments.
Yeah.
If you build your offense correctly.
Travis,
the quarterback position, you can't.
I want to be confrontational with you.
I know you do.
I'm going to drop 2 names.
Okay.
Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes.
Uh-huh.
We were happy with Alex Smith.
Uh-huh.
Everyone was happy with Alex Smith. Why do you throw in this guy from Texas Tech when it's all humming with Alex Smith? And they did it. And that's kind of the point. You could go, maybe there's a young guy out there. Maybe some people think Penix in the right situation with some speedy receivers. He has some awesome receivers at Washington.
There are situations where you can have what you feel is a more than capable quarterback that you're perfectly happy with, but you find yourself in an unexpected position where you can get higher value than you normally would. In other words, back then those Chiefs were in the playoffs every year.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly the situation of why I don't remember. What was Patrick Mahomes' draft spot? Do you remember?
No, I don't. And while we're getting that, I met some people that were at Texas Tech, and gentleman, his daughter was going to Texas Tech, and he said those games he went to in those years, he knew that Patrick was amazing. He said he threw some deep balls and overthrew receivers, that he didn't have the receivers, and I hope the receivers aren't listening, but again, this is my buddy's opinion, and so he knew. So some Raider fans, Red Raiders, if y'all are out there, call in. Again, this is revisionist history, but they're telling me, a lot of these fans are telling me they knew he had good talent. They're not sure why he didn't win more, why they didn't win more, but they saw it.
But so Patrick Mahomes drafted 10th overall in 2017.
Wow, that's higher than I thought.
The Chiefs, as he was sliding, the Chiefs traded up to the 10th spot and took him.
Yeah.
He spends 1 year behind Alex Smith. Then they trade Alex Smith off to Washington to turn the reins over.
That's
to
because
Patrick
the last
Mahomes.
2 games of that first year, I think he got in.
Yes,
if I remember
correct.
correctly. So yeah,
and so
Alex didn't even get the full year.
And so what you run into, in other words, like if you're the Cowboys with Dak Prescott and you're drafting 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 25th every year because you're a playoff team, and you don't have enough pieces to go trade up to get into splash position.
Yeah.
There's not that opportunity to pick up a splash. I mean, what we consider franchise quarterbacks.
Yes.
Don't fall to 25th in the draft.
Yeah, you're right.
So
yeah,
that becomes a problem. Now, if a team is in a position where they feel they have a guy, but they make a few deals here and there, and they all of a sudden find themselves drafting 7th overall, and you look around and go, well, maybe we could pick up our next quarterback because, by the way, the 49ers kind of did that to Alex Smith too. Remember, he started with 49ers and was a good quarterback for them.
Yes, he was.
but decided they needed to move on. Alex Smith would be an interesting thesis paper.
And we may mention him already because we were talking about quarterbacks that went number 1 overall. Remember, he was a number 1 pick for the Niners in 2005.
Yes.
That's how long ago that was. And he made 3 Pro Bowls. For the record, I mean, he's not. I think we all, when we look back, we're like, oh man, he sucked because he kept getting his job took. But
wow, so he was drafted in 2005, so he was in his 12th or 13th season in 17.
Yeah.
When Kansas City was able to get Mahomes.
So at that point, you kind of said, maybe Reed or maybe the general manager said to Reed, bro, we know what we got here.
Yeah.
I think we're good. Let's give this live arm young guy a chance with the talent we have. You remember Kelsey was already there, so he wasn't superstar Kelsey, but we knew he was reliable, good hands. Cheetah was already there. Is he 6 years? He'd be 8 years in now.
Yeah.
Cheetah. I'm not so sure about him, but I thought that might be a good opportunity just to remind ourselves how old he was when he got taken. But again, all those organizations made good decisions.
Right.
The Niners went to the Super Bowl with Kaepernick.
That's right.
And a couple NFC championships with Kaepernick.
And by the way, if you remember when Washington traded for Alex Smith, they were pretty happy to make that trade. Now,
They were.
Alex ends up having that horrific leg injury, but he was playing well for Washington then on a more veteran team that was looking for a veteran quarterback. Alex Smith at that time, we just talked about, he was in his 12th or 13th year. He looked like he had 4 or 5 more good years in him before that injury.
But moreover to his luck.
Yes.
That Niners team, if you think about it, had it not been, because we just mentioned Russell Wilson, so that's what, remember, they went back to back.
Yes.
So, and they're in the same division. So that Kaepernick year, getting in there around that Niners team, that was a great team. That just tells us how good Kaepernick was, and that 4-year span of the 2 NFC championships that he had, the 2 years he had of course he lost out to a team that went to the NFL championship. And wow, that okay. I'm sorry, Alex Smith. I'm sorry we had to bring this up. If you got a home here in our area, or if you're on the TuneIn app, sorry man, relive all that.
Yeah.
How did Utah?
Yep.
That's anyone else coming out of Utah.
Played for Urban Meyer at Utah.
Because I was about to ask you, how did he get to Utah?
Yep.
What was the draw? What do you think?
I don't know his backstory of that, but I know that Urban Meyer was head coach at Utah back then.
Yeah, that helped. He helped Urban out a lot.
He did. He certainly did.
Sheesh. Okay, so we're coming down the line here. Before we go, would you like to make any grand exclamations about how happy you are? Baseball's back, brother. In fact, I'm going to go see the Round Rock Express this weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going Saturday night. I'm going to go take in a game. They're going to be honoring some youth leagues that I coach. And so, yeah, I'll have some kids out on the field. And
I believe they're playing Sugarland this weekend.
Oh, great.
So
I got some friends that live in Sugarland.
So it is a quote unquote Rangers versus Astros series between.
Yes. Oh, I'm prepared to root that one on. Egg them.
This weekend is a magical weekend for us Rangers fans, and of course last night they unveiled the banner.
Yes.
Saturday the players will get their rings.
Good grief! I can't wait to see those rings.
And then Sunday they have something else special planned on Sunday, but it's drawn out the whole weekend around the World Series. I actually got my email this morning that I ordered my Gold Series Rangers cap with the World Series emblem on it.
Yeah.
Is on its way.
Yeah.
So when I get it, I'll be wearing it in for everyone to see. But yeah, it's good to have baseball back. As a Rangers fan, it's as exciting a start to a season as we've ever had because of the way the last one ended.
Yeah.
I am a big baseball fan. I do end up consuming a lot of baseball throughout the year. A lot of it's because, quite frankly, in the summer there's not a whole lot else to watch on TV.
Yeah.
And as a sports junkie, I'm always going to skew towards watching sports over watching a rerun of a series I probably watched back in the 90s or something. I don't know, but it is nice to have it back, and I think we're just as optimistic about this year's Rangers team as we were about as we are happy of the way that last year ended.
I want to put on my Mr. Oklahoma hat here. UFL season is starting. The season will begin on March 30th,
Yep.
Does that sway you? I told my wife I would like to head down to San Antonio to watch a game. So I was just wondering, any appeal for you? I'm just doing it for the kids because it's an NFL. It's an NFL product type event for them.
So I do know that the Arlington team that Bob Stoops coach is playing this weekend. They're going to be on TV.
Okay.
The way I would always say it about the UFL is, if I'm flipping around the channels and I run across it, I usually stop on it and watch it for a little while.
Okay.
Am I going to make an appointment to watch it? Probably not.
Yeah, me either.
I just started thinking, though, you brought up an interesting point. I know we're running up against it here, but I've never thought about going to one of the games. Now, remember when the USFL came back, they played all their games in Birmingham.
Yep.
There weren't any home games for those teams, but now this new combination, they're playing the home games. So San Antonio and Arlington will have games. Have not thought about actually going to one of these games. Now, you played semi-pro football, so this to you rings true to your heart.
Yes, it does.
And
putting it on film. You just got to put something on film and hope.
Right. So,
but I was thinking of my kids. I just thought, hey, I can get an NFL product since we don't have an NFL team here in Austin yet, 10th largest city. Come on, NFL, throw us something. You can take it away from someone else. I won't make any enemies out there because we got people streaming all over. But yeah, I thought it'd be a fun experience to go take them to see it.
Yeah. Well, it's I think it would be a great. If my kids were younger, I probably would think about it more as well. But,
I already know, Travis. You're gonna do. You already said it, Arlington. You're gonna go up. You're gonna catch a Rangers game. You're gonna figure out a weekend. You're gonna catch a Rangers game, and while you're up there, you get some home cooking, and visit some cousins and stuff, and then you'll do a UFL. I think that's what you'll do.
No, that's one. If I'm gonna do it, it's gonna be 100% that direction.
You're not going to San Antonio. I'm going to San Antonio. You're doing an Arlington game.
All right. Well, we are against it. We got to make way for Giannis to get in here. Everyone have a happy Easter this weekend. Stay safe. Happy Good Friday to everyone. We'll see you back here next week on the Fans View KAZI 88.